Coffee and a hallelujah to the new VOX AV series of all analog amplifiers, because ain't nothing wrong with all amplifier.
You know what, we began this when I first saw these little VOX amplifiers. I think I could be forgiven for thinking affordable, analog,
possibly affordable. You know, I could feel the tension in the room.
Possibly affordable. We had experience of these at the NAMM show. And of course, being the NAMM show, it was really, really loud, and there were loads of kids around playing these funky new VOX guitars that looked kind of interesting.
Yes.
And all we could really do was get a loud, kind of high gain sound and sort of kind of hear the anthem, but we didn't really get to hear the tone. Tune!
All I really was appreciating was the fact that this looked tremendously comfortable to lean against. In a sort of a 1960s
lean on me,
beige,
and I'll be
upholstered thing.
Affordable amp. Jamming before the video cameras were activated, and I turned to Lee and I went, "Sounds really good.
These sound great.
They sound really good.
These sound great." So they are affordable. They are affordable, and they are a part of this growing trend of, look, it's not all valve, but it's not modelling either. It's oldie-woldy fashioned solid state analog technology with very little programmable functionality. In fact, borderline none, I think, is the safest way.
Yeah, they're not really digi-amps.
Valves in them, real, proper, glowing little glass valves.
That do things.
Joy goodness.
Not just for a light bulb.
And just great sounding. As we, you know, that little jam that Rob and I did, we just used one sound, so all the tonal stuff that was happening was just from going different pickups, strumming harder, maybe using fingers for one bit, plectrums for others. The sign of a really cool amplifier when, you know, goodness happens, just, you know,
organically. Yeah, because the amp just gives you, it has a nice organic, there's something about analog amplifiers that have, there's something about them that is nice and warm and real sounding.
Real, that's the word.
Yeah, real sounding. I mean, well, I don't know, you got Seymour Duncans in your guitar.
Yeah, Seymour Delulars.
I've got a mule and a quarter pounder. So we've got some great pickups.
These are affordable guitars, by the way. We always get shouted at for not using affordable guitar. Well, I think this is affordable. You know, these are like, That's like a £300 guitar. This is like a £500 guitar or something. So let me tell you, so just in case anybody's confused, VOX now have the full suite of technologies in their range. If you want all valve, that's cool. You go and buy yourself an AC30 or an AC15 or any one of that glorious range of amplifiers that has graced, you know, rock and pop music forever. Or you can go fully digital, and they sound awesome too. If you want all the kind of USB stuff and programmable this and 57 different variants of Heinz Baked Bean.
I knew you were going to go bean.
They have the Valvetronics range, which is super cool and goes right down into the VX, which like, you know, £80 or something like that. Super cool. And this isn't replacing anything. This is as well as price-wise much more like Valvetronics kind of money than it is AC15 and AC30 money, but all analog. So let's just quickly go through them. There's 3 amps at the moment. Maybe there'll be more in the future. I don't know. Baby 15 with an 8-inch speaker. Mummy Bear is the 30 watt with the 10-inch speaker.
Am I plugged into Mummy Bear?
You're plugged into Mummy Bear.
Right, okay. You're plugged into Daddy Bear, are you?
Yeah. So Daddy Bear is the 60 watt with a 12-inch speaker. They all have the same basic preamp tech in them, except that the 30 and the 60 are 2-channel amplifiers, and hopefully what Rory will be doing now is overlaying pictures of the. So this is the top panel. So this is the 15 watt one. So you can see it's just single channel and has 1 valve in it. Cleverly split, by the way, this
Somehow.
1 valve, so that half of it does preamp things and half of it does power amp things.
I don't know how you do that, but the clever people
Yeah,
at VOX know.
Martin Victory was explaining to me how preamp valves are essentially 2 paths to them and can achieve 2 different things.
Oh, right.
It's wizardry that I don't really understand. So then the 30 and the 60, which have identical panels, which look like these, you will see are 2-channel, very much in the format of a traditional amplifier, so a complete row of, you know, volume and tone controls, and then another row of volume and tone controls, and you just switch between whichever one you want it to be. And 2 valves in them now, so one of the valves is entirely to add flavour to the preamp, and one of them is to add dynamics to the power section. And that's it. The only digital wizardry in these things is the effects section, which is incredibly common nowadays.
Well, all of my pedals on the floor that do reverb and delay are all digital.
Yeah, and all the sort of the you know, most amps by other brands at the lower end anyway aren't using spring reverbs anymore. They're using digital reverb chips. So you've got a reverb, a delay, and a modulation built into all 3. There are foot switches that you can buy as optional extras. This is the big one. Big one called the VFS5, which will do the channel changing plus allow you to turn each effect off individually. And then there's a Diddy one called a VFS2 or VS2 or something, which just does the channel change, and then will switch all the effects on and off, kind of like with 1 button press rather than being able to switch them off individually.
You know, just a quick thing about reverb. I just, because it interested me, because I used to play with an Orange amp that had a spring reverb tank in it. And in England, a lot of the venues that you start playing at have kind of quite bouncy stages.
Oh, right.
Yeah, or they're under a train tunnel. And what I noticed sometimes, and this has nothing to do with Orange being bad at, they're fantastic amplifiers, but I'd often get that kind of from the spring cage as the stage is being jumped, the audience knocks and stuff.
A good spring reverb is magic.
It's brilliant.
Like a 2-rock spring reverb just goes, hallelujah, glorious sounds of reverb.
Yeah.
And a rubbishy spring reverb can be unreliable and broken. And I mean, I must admit, there are some reverb trays where I think the decay is far too long and it becomes a...
I completely agree. But what I was going to say is digi-reverb, practical and saves the day in these situations.
You know what, this is a classic example of old-fashioned digital, you know, low bit quality or whatever it is, which back in the day sounded really artificial and crappy compared to a spring reverb. And when everyone goes, oh, digital, that's bad, what they're kind of going is, you know, like, it's a bit like sort of going, oh, computers. Yeah, I had a Commodore 64 once, rubbish. Never using a computer again.
Hey man, just a Commodore.
That's a bit like kind of that's how digital effects have progressed, you know. Even told you about, which is probably the main feature of these super cool amplifiers, is that each channel has 8 completely analog preamp circuits going through, you know, Fender Blackface, Bassman, AC15s, AC30s, Plexis, JCM 800s, SLOs, and 5150 emulations.
SLO.
All of those names are obviously belong to other trademarks, and we can't say that they're them or something. Legal terms and conditions apply.
Colours may differ from packaging shown.
Can you twiddle?
I really want to go to the SLO straight away, but I won't do.
So I think we were on the Bassman. So if you go all the way to your left, so we start with the cleanest one. That's that top left, that one, yeah. And then turn that all the way. No, oh sorry, is that the preamp? Yeah, that's right. No, turn it all the way off, if you like, rather than all the way on.
Okay, so now it's on clean 1.
So clean 1 is your Fender Blackface, you know, vintage 60s.
By the way, all the EQ settings are kind of just centralised.
Yeah, and we've just got reverb.
Well, I'm using the quarter pounder.
With the treble all the way up, because it doesn't sound as bright as I thought it would.
Well, the volume wasn't all the way up.
Okay,
I was backing it off.
That might take
just
a bit of a tone.
Here is now all of the volume. But it's got a little bit of ground now, which is why I backed it off, because we wanted to slightly clean the tone.
We're using all the controls here at sort of 12 o'clock, so there will be a smidgen of gain even on the clean sounds. So let's go to clean 2, which is the sort of Fender Bassman sound. So this should be a little darker and a little bit more growly.
I'm going to whack it right in the middle, which is what she likes.
Go to the third one, which, if I remember rightly, is the AC15.
Oh, really?
Well, I don't know, because the iPad switched itself off, so I'm trying to do this from memory now. Mofo. Okay, so number 4, Crunch 2, is an AC30 top boost.
That's a great sound.
Not much to dislike about that.
Remember
So Rob's amp we're using has got the 10-inch speaker. So if we were to go down one, you might lose a little bit of bass end, and up one might gain a little bit of bass end. But we're using the sort of the middle one.
I just want to mule that sound.
Mule
and see what it's like. This is really nice. It's great for like. Really I feel like I would jam on my own for hours to that. So.
I think if you kind of, I know we're interrupting the flow here, but it's like if the whole idea of USB editing and recording, if you just want a good sounding amp that's affordable, it's really easy to sort of, you don't have to sort of sit with a big manual going, oh, you just dial it in like you would any other amplifier.
Yeah.
It's a next good one. Amp. Yeah, next one is a Marshall Plexi.
Interesting. Going to use the quarter pounder. Wow.
Yeah.
This is really enjoyable.
Really good, isn't it?
Really enjoyable.
And no, we're not changing any of the settings, so this is pretty much with the gain on 12 and all the tone controls on 12. So now we're going JCM 800.
Oh my god! It all works, Lee.
It's not much alike. So we're going a little bit gainier still onto the SLO.
One of my favourite amps of all time, Space.
Absolutely.
And an amp that I really want Rabia Massad to try.
Oh! Do you know what the other thing I meant to say, that you just don't get that, you don't get that slightly disconnected sensation with these, do you? I mean, you're just plugged in, everything you're hitting is immediately coming out the amp, which you can't always say of some digital
No,
products.
You can't quite say that of all. Let me back off the guitar and then bring it back in. Great sound.
It's a real like wolf in sheep's clothing, this, isn't it? When you see that, you would not expect this to do a monster SLO.
I'm really
kind of
hoping that this translates into YouTube.
Let's go, last one. So this is 5150 territory.
Wait. Okay.
That's it, all the way up.
That's
as loud as it'll go. Holy mother.
That's all she said, bro.
That's really good.
It's really good. And we haven't tone sculpted any of the channels.
None of it all. You're hearing, and I should say as well, on our channel, or this channel, just switch it back, that's it. What you hear is the amp mic'd up with, no post-editing or anything like that. You don't hear a bass line added in, you don't hear it double-tracked, you don't hear it as part of a track. You just hear as close to what we're hearing as we can get it. It just sounds great.
I've got to try that SLO again.
You need to go back to the other. So SLO is the number 7, so I think you've gone back to the JCM 800.
Can I sculpt the tone to have a little bit less high?
Absolutely. So this is now Rob kind of dialing in a tone like you would. I should also say as well, volume-wise, I wouldn't say. The nice thing about solid-state amplifiers is they can go really, really quiet and still sound the same as kind of how they do. And in terms of power. You can never really compare a solid-state amplifier to a valve amplifier in terms of like volume, but these are healthily equipped. I think that 30, even at this, that we're only at not even halfway on the volume. So that's a definite kind of like little home jamming amplifier. If you had like a buddy with a drum kit and stuff. And
what I'm loving the most is that at a home kind of volume.
Yeah.
This sounds really salesy, but it's really not. At a home kind of volume, it's got that lovely, warm, break-up-y kind of natural organic sound. That's what I wanted it to do, and it did it for me. Beautiful.
Now, I'm going to go into a couple of the sort of the more fine detail features on here. Shall I just demo these on my amplifier?
Do it, bro.
So I'm going to talk about the power, the valves that are in it. So the 30 and the 60, as we said before, have got the 2 valves in it. One shapes the preamp, and essentially, let me just remind myself, bright and fat. Okay, so they have one switch makes it brighter, one switch makes it fatter. So that's with both switched off. Then we can make it brighter. And we can make it fatter as well. So here's the fat switch. So they're nice, kind of subtle, like real sort of valvey kind of things.
The bright was really nice for those.
And then
do you know what this was reminding me of?
What's that?
Do you remember when the Black Star HD5 came out and everyone was like, oh my god, this is the combo that everyone's going to have in their bedroom? I'm not saying, the HD5 is a great amp, but I'm just saying this, for me, is giving me the same vibes of that kind of a thing. Yeah.
And then the power amp ones might be a little harder to kind of, for you to hear, because they're very subtle. One is one is controlling the sort of the bias, so how would you sort of describe that? The sort of the hotness of the way the power amp kind of drives, and the second one is doing the damping, the sort of the kind of how spongy the kind of the power amp feels. That's probably more of a feel thing rather than a sound thing. But if I dial up a slightly more driven tone. Yeah, the one that does the sort of the hotness is the sort of the easier one.
That's such a pleasing tone.
It sounds great. I've done nothing to the controls either. It just sounds great. And we've got some effects, so I'll just quickly whiz through the basic effects. Really, really easy to use. So I'm back on a clean. So again, if Rory shows you kind of what the top panel looks like, you'll see you've got 3 buttons, one that does reverb, one does delay, and one does modulation. You simply press it to make it come on. There's one knob to adjust. So there's your chorus. Press it and hold it down a little longer to turn it off. Next one is delay. And the final one, which you've heard kind of all the way through, is reverb. And of course you can have all of them on if you want to. So if you want a little bit of delay and a little bit of reverb.
That's great. How do you change the speed of the delay?
Is it a good question? Let's see if we can make it.
Should we ask Mr. Voxman just in case it is a predetermined delay length?
Mr. Voxman.
Mr. Voxman. So it's a good job we asked Mr. Vox because there is a way. Basically, what you do is you hold down the button and then you adjust the level, and then that gives you the rate of delay.
Yes, and it's the same thing for chorus and for reverb. So if you actually hold the button down, the effect knob does something different. So you can adjust it, which is cool. Double cool. Too much?
A little bit too much. It's quite, and you can remove some of the reverb. So if I press that,
that's it. So whichever one is flashing, kind of that's the one you're editing.
You know what? That's really intuitively quick and simple to use.
So we talked about the speaker and stuff. Now that's not the end of the cleverness. So they've also completely redesigned the cabinet. So not only have they mucked around with the way the cabinets are ported for the sort of the bass reflex to get sort of what's the word, surprising amounts of bass out of a small cabinet. They've also, and I'm throwing this one out there for the comment section below, all you sort of carpenters and woodwork specialists out there and cabinet sort of makers. Normally when you design a cabinet, it's like a square box and then there's a baffle, a separate sort of piece of wood is inserted into the cabinet, and it's that holds the speaker.
Sure.
And by adjusting the sort of the thickness of the baffle and the way it's mounted, you can adjust how the speaker works. Now what Vox have done here is the baffle is actually an integrated sort of piece of the cabinet, so that if you like, there is no separate baffle, so that the speaker is mounted to the cabinet. I'm guessing what that probably does is make the baffle kind of stiffer.
Is it like having a neck through on a guitar?
I don't know. I think the law of sort of the science behind it says that the more the baffle vibrates, the more energy is lost in terms of what the speaker's able to sort of throw out there.
Right.
So if the baffle doesn't vibrate, then what should happen is obviously there's less energy lost and the speaker should project sort of better. So I think that's what Vox are trying to achieve here. Again, cabinet makers, comment away below.
Let us know your thoughts.
All I really know is these sound bleeding good.
Yeah, they do.
And
bleeding.
So in a certain sense, that's kind of all that really matters. There's a headphone output which is cabinet emulated. There is an auxiliary input, which again, so you can run, back at your iPod or something like that with some music through it. And that's pretty much kind of it in terms
Special
of
thanks
spec.
to Mr. Vox for giving us 3 huge printouts on the floor that we can read all the spec from.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Vox.
So look, let's do, I think we'll play a bit more. I don't know whereabouts this will appear in the video. I've just learned some chords off Danish Pete that Rob's going to noodle over, and then we'll do something a bit more rocky as well.
Yeah!
I never told you how much they were. Don't press the button yet.
Don't press.
I'll have to. Go on.
Don't stop recording. Don't stop
Recording. Hold on to the feelings.
I'm gonna tell you the pricing. Are we ready? Pricing. Okay, so the AV15, which is the little one here, which I should say is very lightweight for anybody with a bad back or anything like that. Look, very lightweight.
It's £199.
The one that Rob has been ably demonstrating all afternoon, which is the AV30, £279.
£279.
And if you're blessed to have the princely sum of £349 in your bank account, you can afford the AV60.
That's £349.
Anyway, have a plectrum.
Bye.
Goodness me. All I really know is these sound bleeding good.
Bleed good.